I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 46 of Movies Are Awesome, the show all about exterminators. My name is Nathan Pottle. Thank you so much for joining me today. A couple weeks ago on the podcast, I was talking about something or other, and then I mentioned comedies, and I was like, hey, I should do an episode of my favorite comedies. And then yesterday, I was thinking, hey, I should do an episode on my favorite comedies. And so here I am, doing an episode on my favorite comedies. As always, when doing episode lists like this, I've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to get into spoilers on any of these movies, just basic plot details and things that I enjoy or maybe don't enjoy about each of these movies. These are all movies I really like, so probably not going to hate on them too much or at all, really. That's not something that I like to do. But yeah, I've got 5 movies here, 5 comedies. They're all pretty funny. I recommend all of them to an extent. Some of them are maybe not as family friendly as other movies, but they're all really enjoyable. If you're an adult and you can watch whatever you want, go ahead, sit down, watch all these movies. Why don't I get started? Number 5 on my list is Mean Girls. Mean Girls came out in 2004. Now this movie is just so quotable that all the time people talk about different things like on Wednesdays we wear pink, or I can't go out, I'm sick. And the response to that line, I won't say it, but the response to that line in the movie is one of my favorite lines of the whole movie. I just think it's hilarious. We've got Rachel McAdams in this movie, Lindsay Lohan, she's fine, I guess. Tina Fey, Amy Poehler in this movie too, and yeah, and it's just, if you're not familiar with the movie, although I'm sure you've at least heard of it, it's about this girl who was raised in Africa who moves to the U.S. somewhere. I can't remember where this takes place exactly. Somewhere in the States. And she gets in with the popular kids. And just like how that changes and affects her from like the way she dresses to the way she acts to the way this like inner high school politics all works. It's just about like how popularity messes with your head. And I really like that quite a bit. I like this movie a lot. It's very, very funny. Mean Girls has its own day. October 3rd is Mean Girls Day because of a line in the movie where they talk about October the 3rd. Rachel McAdams is really good in this movie. She's kind of younger at the time because this came out in 2004 and I'm sitting here in 2020, so like she's really grown and developed as an actor since this movie. But even in here, she's really good and really funny. Portrays her character of Regina George very, very well. She's the leader of the Plastics, and she's the meanest of the mean girls. And she has the burn book where they put mean stuff into it. It's all very interesting the way that this high school works and operates. It isn't always the most clean with its humor, but like it's not even the worst in that respect of the movies on my list here. So just go into it knowing this movie's probably rated 14A or so. I am not sure of the exact rating, but yeah, if you're wanting to watch Mean Girls, just know, and it's also that it's a movie that isn't always on the clean side of things, and this movie is also very much of its time. This movie is an early 2000s movie, and you can tell the way people dress and the way people talk. It's kind of like an early 2000s version of Clueless, I guess. Although I think this movie's better than Clueless, even though I enjoy that one as well. I think it's pretty good. But Clueless is not on my list, and Mean Girls is. So, number 5 on my list, Mean Girls from 2004. It's one of my 5 comedies. I'll move on to number 4. It's actually the newest movie on this list. It came out in 2018, and that's Crazy Rich Asians. Now, I'm pretty sure I've talked about this movie before on the podcast, but I like this movie a whole lot. I think not only is it a really good comedy, it's just a really good movie. Just in general, across the board, excellent, excellent film. And that's because they're telling a really good story about this Asian girl from America who goes to visit her boyfriend's family, who lives in, is it Hong Kong? I think it's Hong Kong. I'm not 100% sure. If it's not, I am sorry. I did watch this movie only a few months ago, so I should remember. But anyway, she goes to visit his family over in Asia, and they don't like her that much. And it's about how she has to prove herself in order to get her boyfriend's family's approval of them being together, because he is from this very rich, affluent family. And she actually didn't know this when she was dating. She didn't know how rich he was until going over on this trip. And now she has to prove that she's worthy of this guy. And there's some really good comedy in here. Aquafina is actually a standout here. I'm really interested that her career has kind of shifted from being this, what was she? She was a New York rapper, and now she's in movies a lot. And one of the movies that she was in this year I heard was very, very good, but I did not see it. I also can't remember what it's called. But I remember like the image of her standing with like members of her family in the movie, and that it's a striking image. So I'm gonna have to check out what that movie is and go check it out, because she's surprisingly good. She's also in Ocean's 8, and I liked her in that movie too. But I think just overall, the cast in this movie is really good. I think the absolute standout, like the number one performance, is Michelle Yeoh, who plays the boyfriend's mom. What is his name? I don't even remember. This is why I need to have my phone on me while I'm recording. It's in the other room. I don't have it, and I can't look these things up now. What? Oh, I have my laptop here. I'm going to do that. Here we go. Where does this movie take place? And what are the characters' names? We're opening up IMDb here. Okay. Crazy Rich. Why is it being so slow? Okay, here we go. Dun dun dun. Thank you for bearing with me. Directed by John Chu. Oh, I like him. So we've got Nick Young, and Michelle Yeoh plays Eleanor Young, Nick's mom. So thank you very much, IMDb. Now, where does it take place? Dun, 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 dun. Singapore. They go to Singapore, not to Hong Kong. I am so sorry. Just put my laptop back. Okay, yeah, so Michelle Yeoh is really good in everything she's in. I don't know if she's in the new Mulan that's coming out soon. I don't think so, but she should be if she's not, because she's great, and I like her a lot. But that's my number 4 on the list, Crazy Rich Asians. We'll move on to number 3. It came out in 2012. It's 21 Jump Street. And 21 Jump Street is directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, those two guys who got fired from Star Wars, if you remember that. They were working on Solo, a Star Wars story, and like 3 weeks away from the end of production when Kathleen Kennedy gave them the boot. And it's just ridiculous, actually, because these guys make really solid movies. Like, let's take a look. The only movies of theirs I don't really enjoy is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. But they did 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street, the Lego Movie. I love the Lego Movie. And then they also worked really heavily on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I will talk about till I'm blue in the face about how amazing Into the Spider-Verse is. That movie is just peak level filmmaking. I just love it so much. I think it's fantastic. So Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they know how to entertain and they know how to tell a good story. And 21 Jump Street is not an exception to that. We really discover in this movie how good Channing Tatum is at comedic acting. He has a really good comedic timing in this movie. He's very, very funny. Also, what I like in a comedy is when a comedy is clever. And this script is very clever. It's smart and it's witty and it's got jokes coming at you from all sides. It's very, very fun. However, I do believe this movie is rated R, and there is reason for that. As I usually like to give warnings for. If you're going to watch 21 Jump Street, be aware that it's not the most appropriate, not the most clean, definitely not family friendly. But it's very funny and very clever. And it's basically the story, it's like a remake, reboot of the old 21 Jump Street show, which is where Johnny Depp got famous from, actually. That's kind of like the first thing he was in. So this 21 Jump Street show is about these cops who go undercover at a high school in order to like fight crime or whatever. And that's what this story is about. We've got Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. They are police officers who go undercover as high school students in order to take down some new drug that has recently surfaced and some kids have OD'd on and died from. So, and then they kind of start to blur the lines on their undercover identity and who they really are, and they start like questioning what's going on, and it's very good. And I also really like 22 Jump Street as well. I don't think it's quite as good as this first one, but it's definitely enjoyable, and I liked watching it a lot. And that's it. And because I'm wanting to not give away all of the best jokes and all the best lines, and I don't want to give away spoilers of the plot, I am kind of moving through this pretty quick here. So today's episode might only be like 20 minutes or so long. Who knows? We'll move on to number 2, is from 1994, and that is Dumb and Dumber. Now, like I said with 21 Jump Street, I like when a movie is clever, and Dumb and Dumber has this uncanny ability to be both completely juvenile and brilliantly clever at the same time. Just the jokes that are told and the gags that they pull just walk that line so well that I just laugh so much every time I watch this movie. I laugh and I laugh and I laugh because I just find this movie hilarious. Just quickly run down what the story is we have Dumb and Dumber, played by Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. Oh, I almost forgot his name there for a second. So you have Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, who are these two friends who are just complete morons. They're just so gullible and so stupid that's why they're called Dumb and Dumber. So Jim Carrey's character meets this woman, this beautiful woman, and she forgets a briefcase, and she goes off onto like a family trip to Aspen, and he decides that he's going on a road trip with his buddy to return the briefcase to her because he has fallen in love with her because she is so beautiful. And then they like go on this road trip. And there's other stuff that happens and things like that, but I don't want to get into it. So Dumb and Dumber is just like a road trip movie, basically, of these two guys on the road and the people that they interact with and the fun adventures that they have and the kind of disaster that they leave in their wake through their stupidity. It's just hilarious. I find this movie really, really funny. I can see, however, that this movie's humor might not work for everyone because it is very borderline, completely juvenile, and sometimes it's not even borderline. Sometimes there's just juvenile stuff. Like one guy gets given a dose of laxatives and then the terror ensues, right? So things like that happen in the movie, but for the most part, it's just really good wordplay, really, really good wit, and that's what I'm looking for most in a comedy. I don't want to watch a fat person fall over for 2 hours, because that's not funny to me. I would much rather watch two characters sitting in a room talking, having clever wordplay with each other, and find that way funnier. One of my favorite television shows of all is a Canadian comedy called Corner Gas, and that movie is so witty and clever that I can watch it endlessly, and it's so funny. And it's a dry humor, but it's just so smart in how it's written, and I feel that way with Dumb and Dumber, and I really feel that way with my number 1 pick here. Why don't I move into and talk about it right now? My number 1 pick is a little movie called Some Like It Hot. Now, this movie was directed by Billy Wilder and came out in 1959. And you might think, oh, 1959, that's kind of an old movie. It can't be that funny. Trust me, my friends, this movie is very, very funny. Oh my goodness, it is absolutely hilarious. And it stars Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon. And these three are just gold in this movie. Now, Billy Wilder is one of my favorite directors of all time. He's done movies like Sabrina, Sunset Boulevard, Double Indemnity, Some Like It Hot. there's another one that is slipping my mind right now that is also really good. The Apartment. Oh my goodness, The Apartment. Just, he's a wonderful, wonderful director. All of his movies that I have seen are fantastic. And this movie is so clever in its writing and in its performance that I can watch it again and again and again. And I'm sure there's going to be new things that I'm picking up on and things that are even funnier the second time or third time or fourth time around. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. It is just so funny. Just to give you the basic plot rundown of what this movie is about, you have Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon. They are musicians during the Prohibition era. They accidentally witness some guys getting murdered and they go on the run. In order to go on the run, they dress up as women and pretend to be women and join an all-women's musical group who are on their way to Florida. They go to Florida pretending to be women, but one of the men dressed as women falls in love with Marilyn Monroe's character and then creates another identity and is trying to use all three of his identities in order to make her fall in love with him. And it is so good. That's all I'm going to say about it. Just absolutely trust me. If you don't do anything else that I say in today's podcast, just do other things that I say in other podcasts. But if you're only going to do one thing today, find a copy of Some Like It Hot, rent it on iTunes, get it from the library or whatever, and watch it. Oh my goodness. Now, this movie, I do not think you're going to regret it at all. If for whatever reason you watch this movie and you think it's completely awful, let me know. I would love to know what about this movie you don't like, because it's so funny and clever, and it is in black and white. So if for whatever reason a movie being in black and white versus color makes you not like it, then don't even try. I've met some people like that. Isn't that just crazy? That they refuse to watch a movie because it's in black and white, because they can't stand watching black and white. How close-minded, right? All of the wonderful movies that are in black and white, you are just completely shutting yourself out from because you won't even give it a chance. It could be one of your favorite movies from the 1950s or earlier is just waiting for you, and you won't sit down and watch it because it's in black and white. What is the matter with you? That's no way to live. It's no way to live. I don't like it at all, and it frustrates me to no end. And I know a couple people like this, actually. So just give black and white movies a chance. Don't discredit them just because they're old. People 50 years ago were smart. They were clever. They made good movies. People 80 years ago were smart and clever and made good movies. Movies haven't even been around for that long in people's history. We know how to tell a good story. For the last 100 years, even more than that, movies have been made. Oh my goodness, just give this movie a chance. It's called Some Like It Hot. Came out in 1959, and it is my favorite comedy. I'm thinking that is going to wrap things up here. I'm actually looking at my recorder here, and it's low on battery. It's flashing low battery on me, so I'm going to wrap it up before it shuts down and I lose some of my recording here. So why don't I run through them quickly one last time? Mean Girls, Crazy Rich Asians, 21 Jump Street, Dumb and Dumber, and Some Like It Hot. Those are my 5 favorite comedies, and I would like to know, what is your favorite comedy? Was it something that I mentioned on the show here? Was it something I didn't talk about at all? Is your favorite comedy Hot Rod or Napoleon Dynamite? Those movies are both pretty great, but I think these ones are better. Please feel free to let me know. You can find me on social media. You can reach out on Twitter at PoddleNathan and on Instagram at Poddle Productions. If you like the show, please consider subscribing. If you haven't done so already, you can do that on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify, a whole bunch of other places as well. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It really means a lot to me, and if you have nothing else to do, go watch more movies.